You're doing well. I am here today to talk about the top 5 myths in mucus when it comes to fertility awareness methods. Because a lot of you get in touch with me who have confusion around your mucus and tracking your mucus. So for those of you who don't already know, mucus is the number one sign of your fertility. It comes from your cervix, and its job is to keep sperm alive. So it tells you when you're fertile and when you're able to get pregnant and when you're approaching ovulation. And a lot of people struggle to figure this out in the beginning. Sometimes it's because their cycles don't look like what you see in the textbooks. And that's pretty common. A lot of us don't look like the textbooks. The textbooks show a perfect, ideal, healthy cycle, but us don't fit that. We have other hormonal health issues going on, or it's genetics, the environment we live in, all kinds of things can affect what your cycles look like. So it's okay if it doesn't look like it. It's important to know how to figure out if you're healthy or not. And charting your mucus is one way to do this, because then you can see what it looks like and, whether your luteal length is long enough or how much mucus you have, or all those kinds of things can give you so much information. So I wanted to talk about the top 5 myths around mucus that I see when people come and talk to me. So the first, and I think the most common one, is that your peak day, so that's the day you most likely ovulate, is the day that you have the most abundant mucus. Like, it's all day long, there's big amounts of it every time you're in the bathroom. But that's not actually true. It's the last day of fertile type mucus, the last day of peak type of mucus. It depends on your method because they all define it slightly differently, but it's always the last day. So it's not the day that the most that you see, but the last day. And then another one is that it is the last day of any mucus at all. And that's not true either. You can still continue to have mucus after the peak day, but it changes in its quality. And so you need to understand those different qualities to know how to identify the peak day. So it's not the most mucus, it's not the last day of any mucus, but it's the last day of the peak type of mucus. Another common myth is that it has to look like egg whites to be fertile, and that's not necessarily true. For some people, they have very little mucus that they can actually pick up and finger test, but they have a slippery and lubricative sensation. So that's either when they're wiping or when they're walking, and that will depend on which method you use. They have different ways of figuring out the sensation. But sometimes you have sensation only and there's nothing you can finger test, and you are still fertile on those days. So that's really important to understand how to check for that sensation as well. The number 4 myth is that you only need to check a few times a day. And so that's actually not true either. You need to check all day throughout the day. And it slightly depends on which method you use. But basically the idea is that if you don't check all day throughout the day, you might miss an observation. And then you might think you're infertile on a day you're actually fertile. As well, you might miss some important information about understanding your body and your hormones and what's going on. So it's important to check all throughout the day. And then how you check will depend on the specific method, of course. And then the number 5 myth is that you need to check internally to find it. And that's not true either. Some methods do advise internal, but a lot of them are external only. And that's because, it has to get out, right? There's nowhere for it to go. It's going to make its way out of your body. So checking externally is all you need to do. And sometimes internally can actually make it more confusing. I've had clients come to me who think they have mucus all day long, all throughout the cycle. And it turns out it wasn't mucus. It was just the normal cell slough. I kind of call it like dandruff for your vagina, because it's your body's always shedding skin cells, right? So you have that there as well. And so sometimes that can get confused with mucus. And so you're going to see more of that probably if you're checking internally. So most methods will say you only need to check externally. So I hope that helped. Let me know in the comments what are some myths you've heard or what some things you are confused about around your mucus, and I would love to help you figure it out. So please share this with your friends who you're talking to about charting your cycles, or if they're confused about how to do it, and I would love to chat. So have a great day. Bye.